Hi there. Welcome to Joyful Eating, episode 140. So, today we're going to be talking about true fun, connection, and relief. So, you'll get to find out what that's all about soon. So, the best bite I had this week. So, I'm actually recording these in advance because we are going to Ireland for 6 weeks. I didn't want to pack my podcasting mic. So, it was actually last week was my birthday. So when you listen to this, it will have been my birthday a while ago because my birthday's in September. But anyway, so the best thing, one thing I did want to share with you was for my birthday, I had such an amazing birthday. And I normally we take the day off and have I get the boys to have the day of school and we go out for lunch or something. But because we're going to be away and they're going to miss out on a fair bit of school in term 4, I just thought, okay, let's not let them have another day off school so they don't miss out. So I just decided to have the day, and my Irishman wanted to work because he's got a lot to catch up on before we go away. And so I decided to buy myself a bottle of champagne and drink a bottle of champagne on my own as my birthday, and it was so fun. So I'll share more about that. But yeah, shout out to the team at Louis Roederer. Such beautiful champagne. But anyway, yes. So plan for today is first I'm going to share the story behind this episode and exactly what am I talking about. And then we're going to talk about how to have more fun. And then we're going to talk about how to have more connection. And we're going to talk about how to have more relief. And then I've got a bonus tip for you as well, and an exclusive invitation too. So the story behind this episode is basically when way back in 2008, when I decided to start my journey for changing my relationship with alcohol, I decided had the worst hangover of my life. No, probably it wasn't the worst hangover of my life, but the hangover of my life where I just went, no, something's got to change. And like back then, I guess there were a few three things that I was worried that I was going to miss out by drinking less. One, I was going to miss out on the fun because drinking is fun. The second thing I was going to miss out on was the connection. And for me, a huge reason for drinking was that I've had this thought around that, getting hammered with people was the way that I connected with my friends. And so and with my Irishman as well. So I was worried about missing out on the connection. And then not so much, but I was missing out on having that, unwinding with a glass of wine, that kind of relief aspect. And actually, I'm including that one in this episode. It wasn't such a personal one for me, but it's something that's come up with my clients when I've worked with people around changing their alcohol, that relief at the end of a long day, whether you're drinking for stress or I've worked with people going through grief, and that's where the relief drinking can come in. So I wanted to touch on that as well in this episode. So that's the story. So it was just these were the things I was worried about missing out on. And so I want you to think about for you now, if you're thinking about changing your relationship with alcohol, and you can apply this to food as well. What do you have to lose by drinking less? What do you have to lose by not overeating anymore? And just it's an interesting experiment to ask yourself that question and come up with what are the things that you're worried about missing out on? And I guess the other way to ask it is what purpose does alcohol serve in your life? What are you getting from it? Or what purpose does food serve in your life? What are you getting from it? And then you can look to okay, question those of is this the only way to meet that need? And so I'm going to use in this episode, I'm using the example of true fun, connection, and relief. But you can apply the same idea to whatever it is that you're getting, whatever the benefit is that you're getting. So it might be nurturing, it might be feeling taken care of, it might be feeling spontaneous, it might be feeling free, whatever that is, just keep that in mind for you, that you can apply the same solution to those things. So when we look at true fun, the thing that I have come to learn in my journey of changing my relationship with alcohol is that the most fun and pleasure actually happens in the first 2 glasses. And for me, even these days, it's kind of that happens in the first glass. I get I get that fun, I get that sense of, I get the pleasure, the enjoyment of drinking, when I have my champagne. That little buzz happens in the first 2 glasses. And the most pleasure, the most fun happens in the first 2 glasses. And there's a point, and for you, it might be different. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's a little bit more, but there's a point at which like you having more doesn't equal more fun. So, and you'll know this to be true because because when you get really hammered, like you don't like sometimes you don't even remember that you have it, like what's happened. So how can that be fun? But yeah, like there is this, when you start to observe, you'll actually notice that. And when I work with clients, I get them to observe, like when you're drinking, like what is that point where it tips from being like fun to like not so fun, like or just where adding more alcohol doesn't increase the amount of fun you're feeling. And the cool news is that when you like tune into that, and when you just like realize, actually, you know what, I'm getting the most fun that I've had, that it makes it easier to stop, or and to switch to drinking something else, say, because you kind of like, you're selling it yourself that you're not missing out by having more, like by actually switching to like having a cup of tea now. I'm not missing out because I've had the most fun. So it comes from this really abundant place of like, oh yeah, I've had the most fun. And then it makes it easier to be intentional and to stick, like to not go into over drinking territory, because your brain's like, oh yeah, we're not missing out. So that's the true fun piece. Now, when we think about connection, oh yeah, and actually I kind of touched on pleasure as well, but that's a part of the true, that was part of the true fun for me. And this is actually, and this really applies to food. The whole, like the way our senses are designed is that when we are first exposed to something, when we have that first bite or that first sip of the champagne, like that's when our senses are most highly attuned, looking for new things. And so like that's when we get the most, like we experience it like the most heightened experience of that beverage, or whatever it is that we're consuming. And then the more we have of it, our senses are designed to like be scanning for new things. So the more we have of that wine, that alcohol, we get like it's diminishing returns. Like we get actually less pleasure from that, because our senses have gone, oh yeah, okay, we know this is Louis Roederer champagne. We know what this tastes like. We can smell those aroma molecules. This is safe. Like let's be on the lookout for what else is new. And so that's like another, like that's actually, this is how our senses work. It's so yeah, we're not actually getting more pleasure. So the more we have of something, the less pleasure that we actually get from it. So then that ties in with the fun piece as well. And so that was huge for me to like really understand that and experience that. It was really great. And so what I did with my champagne day was, rather than just drink a whole bottle of champagne in one sitting, which would have made me sick and yeah, wouldn't have been in a fit state for anything. What I did was I broke it into, like, I kind of paced myself. And so I had 2 glasses at lunchtime, and I got that first, that true fun. And then I got that nice buzz. And then I like had a break. And then I, like in the afternoon, I had another 2 glasses, and then I had a break, and then like had afternoon tea with some friends, and then had like my last 2 glasses. But so I got 3 lots of 2 glasses, whereas I got like really maximizing the pleasure out of that day, which was so fun. So that's something to consider, that you did a little hack. I don't do that every day. That was the most I've drunk. Like I drank more on that day than I had in the whole previous month. So it was a bit of a crazy day. But yeah, like, so, but I really want you to experiment with this idea of that the most true fun, you're getting the most benefit out of the first bits, like the first 2 glasses, say, or three glasses maybe for you, depending on how much you're used to drinking. And the cool thing is that that can change. And the more sensitive you become to, like, when you start cutting back, you find that, oh yeah, actually I'm getting my pleasure, I'm getting my like you can adjust that most pleasure, most fun meter can actually, it's not fixed in stone that it's always 3 glasses. Like you can actually dial it back so it becomes like 1 glass or 2 glasses, like, so that's really fun. So that's the true fun piece. Then we're talking about connection, and connection really, that was another thing I was really worried about when I was changing my relationship with alcohol, was missing out on that experience of connection, of getting hammered with people. And like, I really thought that, and because it was from my university days of like, I've got some booze hound friends, and it was just, I really thought that that's where the connection was. But I guess the pain, I was willing to like maybe give up on some connection in order to change my drinking, because I like the pain of drinking what I was drinking wasn't worth it. And so there's a couple of things with this. First of all, like if you do still want to get hammered with people, you can do that, but you just want to be intentional about it. So it's like, rather than like, a couple of times a week, like, which I used to do, getting hammered with my friends, like it would be like, I started where it was like, I was only seeing them. So it's like drinking less. So that was happening like once a month, maybe, or once every couple of weeks. So it was like the frequency that I was doing it, that changed. But then I started to get curious about, actually, you know what? Like the most fun happens in the first two glasses. Maybe the most connection happens in the first two glasses as well. And so it's like, if you're going to have a drink with someone, like, yes, you can have that connection of when you're having your first drink, but then do you really need to like keep going and going and going to still have that same connection? And they just experimented with it. And the thing is that no, you don't. Like, it is very different if you're rocking up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm just having water today, like that. There is some like, difference there. But if you're like, yeah, I'm going to have a glass with you, you have that, having that one glass is enough to get the connection happening without it feeling awkward. And the other thing I discovered was, actually, the more you drink, like the more like you numb out. And so, and also like the more, the less coherent the conversation is, and that the connection actually comes from being with the person and interacting with them and having the eye contact. And maybe if you're touching, and like, that's where the connection comes, the laughs together. It doesn't come from what's in your glass. And so you can like, yes, have one glass or two glasses with them, but then if you're switching to waters after that, you can still like, the connection is actually coming from spending the time, so you're not actually missing out on it, which I think is such a cool thing to discover. Because then I was like, oh right, okay, cool. So so now, like, I'm catching up with when I do catch up with my booze harm friends, yes, we have a drink, but it's not like we need to get hammered. And the interesting thing is that I feel like they're less wanting to, booze as much as well. Like they're kind of, and we haven't, like, I did actually with one of my really good friends had a conversation with her around that, but it's like we actually are appreciating the connection in other ways as well. So it's really cool that it can evolve and that you actually aren't going to necessarily miss out on any connection. That's been such a cool lesson. And then I wanted to speak a little bit about relief as well, because that's another reason why people drink, like to get that stress, or like, yeah, like for my clients with having problems going through grief. And it's the same thing. It's like, you probably like, when you're de-stressing, like having one glass or having two glasses like gives you just as much stress, like it gives you the most stress relief. And then the more you have on top of that, the less benefit you get. And the same with like if you're wanting to numb out, like there's a point where you feel the numbness, and then adding more alcohol on top doesn't actually increase the numbing that you get. So there is this like it applies like this first two glasses really is enough. And so when you can recognize that, then that's another way to like that. It's the same thing. Like when you actually acknowledge, oh yeah, actually I've got the most pleasure from this, I've got the most relief from this, then it just makes it easier to maybe choose something else or pull up stumps and not be going into over drinking territory. So that's the lesson for today, is just like what my bonus tip for you is to don't just take my word for it, like start doing little experiments. And like it doesn't have to be huge, but just think about like what you've got coming up this week and just experiment. Like have your two glasses, and like maybe if you go out for dinner and normally you would have a bottle, like just experiment ordering wine by the glass and just trying two glasses, taking it slowly, enjoying the wine, like whatever you're drinking, like savoring it, and just set that intention of, so I'll just go see how I feel after two. And you can always order more if you decide that you want to, but just setting that intention, like, and you might be surprised yourself that actually, you know what, after two, I actually feel pretty good, and I can just sit with this for a while. And then you can also do experiments with the connection piece as well. Like, and it comes down to playing like baby steps, just trying things out and just seeing like, and because you can always drink more and you can or you can always like do it differently next time. But I think it's like, it's really valuable to set that intention and have that experience for yourself. And the other thing is, if you are using alcohol for, stress relief or, relief from grief, that another experiment you might want to try is experimenting with other ways to soothe yourself. Like, what are other things that you can do apart from alcohol that are going to give you that relief? Maybe it's, journaling, whatever, like connecting with a friend, calling a friend, hugging a pet, like, and just trying different things to, like, so that you can like expand your repertoire, so you're not just only relying on alcohol to have for stress relief. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's breathing exercises, maybe there's so many options out there. But yeah, that's another thing to like just like get curious and have a little experiment for finding other things. Okay, so that's it for today. And just before I go, so yes, my group, the Secret Society of Intentional Booze Hounds, where we work, so it's this amazing group where we work together to with a common goal of being intentional with our alcohol and whatever that looks like for you, discovering what that looks like for you. Like for some people, it's having alcohol-free days. For some people, it's just reducing the total amount that they are drinking. But we do it in a group. It's really fun. And if you'd like to find out more about, actually, it's the funnest group that I run, because as you know, the people who love to drink are always the most fun. But so if you're curious about that, if you're in a place with your alcohol that you would like to like find that balance where you are like drinking less without missing out on any of the connection or the fun or whatever it is that alcohol gives you, and finding this sweet spot, then I'd love you to come and join me in the Secret Society. And so for more details, just go to thestonesoup.com/bar, and I've got a video there that will explain more, and how you can apply. And next group starting November 2023, if you're listening to this in real time. And yeah, come and have a drink with me. I would love to hear from you. Okay, have a beautiful week, being intentional, and I will catch you next week.